We all know how Ernie is about his John Hughes movies.
Yes, if I'm being any more excited, I might have to barf up a lung.
But tell me, what
You're
is it
just gonna
about?
give in throughout the whole show, ain't you?
Yes, I am.
Soundstripe.
Welcome in to another episode of Blockbusters, a classic movie podcast where if you're like us and you miss the days of packed movie theaters and movie stores, then this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Caleb Suggs. Joining me is my co-host, Dakota Lowry.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And can't wait to get his quote out, Ernie Ferguson.
Caleb Suggs, you're my hero.
See, I
don't even remember that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
when
it
they
was the
pull,
Ferris Bueller, you're my hero. Yeah.
Yeah, when they pull Cameron out of the pool, he looks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was gonna say, Caleb, you sounded just like Dirty Harry. Or, I have my father's gun in a scorching case of herpes, but I didn't think that would probably be a good to lead off with right off the bat.
Yeah.
There's too many quotes in this movie. My brother and I
didn't even try to pick.
Right before this, my brother and I told him what we were doing, and we listed like about 15 quotes back and forth, just back to back at each other. It was crazy.
I did not realize how much my wife quoted this movie until I watched it again and realized, man, like you quote a lot of things in this.
Is this the first time you'd ever seen it?
No, I've seen it. I've seen it once before.
That's like
it's still a good movie.
Anytime the kids at school say something dumb, or like if they're wearing a Purple Rain t-shirt, and I said, "Do you know any songs from Purple Rain?" Huh? And I just say, "I weep for the future." Just like, just little things like that.
Speaking of that, I know it has nothing to do with this, but when Prince died, it's like we were at work and I was at the time I worked with my mother and I was in her office and one of the other girls that was my age walked in and said, "Guys, Prince just died," and Mom was like, "Oh, that's so sad. We're gonna have to party like it's 1999, I guess." And the girl was like, "What?
What's that? That's rude."
Yeah, and now she's just, Mom was like, this girl acted like she was such a fan of Prince, but she was just like, "You don't even know like one of his biggest hits." Like,
who hasn't heard Purple Rain? That's like required listening.
You'd be surprised.
but he said 1999 though, so I mean,
no. I'm talking about your students that were wearing a Purple Rain shirt.
Oh, they don't. Or usually I'll ask them, "Can you name me a song from Purple Rain other than Purple Rain?" And they'll go, Or again, they wear Kiss t-shirts. I always say, "Name one song," or Nirvana shit. And some of them will pop something off, but the other one goes, "I don't know." I'm like, I weep for the future.
That's the mood music I grew up with. I always told Dakota I grew up in the wrong decade. And he's like,
he's one of those people.
That is your dad's influence. 100% right there.
Yes.
That's a good father right there. That's my daughter has tastes like mine in music too, and so she's like, I got that from you, father.
Father.
Yeah, well, again, I've gone from daddy to padre to father to, you'll learn. Your name will change over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, anyways, this week is Ernie's pick, and he's so excited because it is Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and we all know how we all know how Ernie is about his John Hughes movies.
Yes, if I'm being any more excited, I might have to barf up a lung.
But tell me, what is it about?
Give in throughout the whole show, ain't you?
Yes, I am.
What is it about John Hughes movies that make you?
I think one thing, again, I think anybody that grew up in the 80s really kind of probably over idealizes John Hughes movies. Now, again, we're talking probably the main four that they're going to idealize is probably going to be Breakfast Club, Weird Science, 16 Candles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and maybe Pretty in Pink. So there's 4 to 5 are going to be one of those, because I think they do a pretty decent job of, you know, looking at teenage life, like angst, the kind of the mentality of teenagers at the time. You know, it just, I don't know what it is, but he does a real good job. Again, for Ferris Bueller's Day Off, every single boy wanted to be Ferris, but every single boy probably identified with Cameron, you know, and just that whole idea of wanting to be Ferris, because you got to be, Ferris doesn't exist. You go to any high school, that character that is intelligent, that can smooth talk anybody, that is, you know, everybody likes him, that is a whiz at the computer, all that nobody has a 10 rating on all these different things. You know, that's why we like it. I think somebody said Ferris isn't a person. Ferris is kind of an idea, you know, and I think just the different messages that John Hughes has, he doesn't necessarily focus on the studs. He usually focuses on the rejects. Again, if you see that in Weird Science, it focuses on the rejects, the different kinds of people in the Breakfast Club too. And for this one, you know, I can remember young, I was all about Ferris. Now watching it when I'm 50, it was all about Cameron. Yeah, Ferris was entertaining, but Cameron's arc and what Cameron did, you know, and just thinking about it, if I had to guess, you know, when you look at friendships, you know, most friendships, someone's either Ferris or someone's either Cameron. Now, I may be wrong, but Caleb, you seem like the Ferris, and Dakota, you seem like the Cameron in y'all's relationship. But then again, you probably have somebody else where the roles are reversed.
Why do I seem like the Ferris?
I don't know. That's just the way.
I guess that makes sense, because we're always doing like whatever some crazy thing that I've thought of with it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like, you know, Dakota. He'll keep calling me. He'll keep calling me. I'll go. Ah, you know, I could just see Dakota doing that.
How do you think?
And Caleb going.
How do you think you got me on this podcast,
Oh,
Dakota,
okay.
come on over and pick me up.
like it really took me twisting your wrist to do a podcast about movies.
No,
But you know, but again, I mean, you see just the kids in the movies. You know, it just like this is one of the things that's for me is seeing the payphone in a school. That's I know that's unheard of for y'all, but just seeing that and just seeing kids walk down the hallway and just talk to each other, like you know, like I know this guy that said he would donate his eyes to Stevie Wonder. If high school kids talk like that, just I mean crazy stuff, and it's awesome. Like the other girl on the payphone, you know, how's your bod? Are you dying? She said, well, if you're alive, I'll see you out this weekend. I mean, yeah, you may die, but if not, I'll see you out this weekend. Just, I mean, it does a real good job without, because most teenage movies, there's not a lot of realism in it. Now, don't get me wrong. It's impossible for Ferris and his friends to get all this done in one day.
That was my question. Yeah,
it's not happening. Also, just like in the first 15 minutes, Ferris Bueller also changes his clothes 10 times too. That's not happening either. But just the relationships between Cameron and Ferris, the relationship between him and Sloane, also for the most part too. The you know, a lot. One thing I've seen, especially when I taught in the suburbs of Houston, was parental neglect. Which again, you get this ideal parents with Ferris, and they're all doting on him, and then you get the absent parents who don't care about Cameron at all. You know, I think that's again, it's just one of those things where I grew up. It was very prevalent. It was very noticeable, and so I think John Hughes was the Cameron character. John Hughes was the nerd character in the Breakfast Club, and so you got more of that. You didn't just have, you know, focus on the jock type of things or focus on the princess type of things. So I guess that's probably one reason. And we talked about it last week. The music. The music
Oh, yeah,
in
the
this
music did a great job in this one.
was for the time, but a lot of his movies he talked to the cast about music to bring in also, especially Breakfast Club. But I mean, you have just the different types of music are iconic. I mean, you think about the first one, the da, 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 da. I mean, that was at the very end whenever he starts running. But again, the music hits the pace of Ferris running, and I mean, it's beautiful. And when we get to the museum scene, man, a scene that should bomb, that should be awful, I think is probably one of the most powerful of the whole entire movie. And it is also because of the music that goes along with it.
Yeah, we're obviously not going to leave out bulb, bulb. I love that. I'll sit there and watch the ending scene where him getting on the school bus and that playing like 5 times. But yeah,
You want a gummy bear? It's been in my pocket all day.
but I'm as I was watching this. So the first time, well, actually, I want to ask you first, Ernie. I mean, what was did you see this in theaters? I mean, what was the?
I did. This is weird because I can distinctly remember my dad taking me to this movie. And I don't know why. This is not a movie, and this may be a Mandela effect, and it may not really happen, but I can swear that my dad took me to this movie, which is not something that happened. And I want to say this is probably the year that my dad was probably hospitalized with complications with diabetes, and so I think he ended up taking me to this. At least that's the way I remember it. And which really, when I watched this movie, I was like, I can't believe my dad took me to a movie that had this much cussing in it, you know. But I can remember it, and I just remember going, I had the Ferris Bueller poster on my wall. You know, that was another thing. His bedroom, I'm still envious of Ferris's bedroom and how he had it decorated. Everything that was on the walls, the bands, the different things like that. But I can definitely remember it. I can definitely remember everybody trying to emulate Ferris. I can remember people wearing different types of vests in school. Nobody could pull it off like Matthew Broderick, but I can remember people trying to. So yeah, I do. This is one of those I definitely remember. And again, I may be making up, but I definitely remember seeing it.
Yeah. First time I watched it, middle school, I think, and it probably has been since high school since I've seen it. But as I was watching, I texted you guys this, but I was like, man, I forgot how good this movie is. I mean, it was a really good movie, and I was I don't want to say I was not looking forward to watching it, but like I told you last week, Ernie, you were making me take a break from my scary movies here in October to watch this, and I was like, oh, I guess I can get this over with. I'll watch it, and then I was watching it, and I was cracking up the entire time.
It was a really great movie, and it did have there was the scene where the mom coming up the stairwell with it, and I was 100% like, this sounds like something that was 100% out of Halloween. Like, this sounds like music that would be playing in a scary movie, like it's a jump scare, you know, like.
Yeah.
Quit trying to make every movie we do a scary movie, Dakota. It's not.
Ferris Bueller's last day off.
But one thing I will say about this movie is, like, I love the influence that it's not just had in the movie, but that it's had outside of it. You know, I 100% think that, like, Deadpool's like breaking the fourth wall 100% comes from this movie. You know, because really, like, this is the first movie that I can remember that kind of goes through and uses that fourth wall break to build the character and to, like, have that interaction with the audience, just like make it feel more personal. You know, like, and instead of like just a quick like, oh look, I'm talking to you, like actually like using it like, hey, we're just gonna have a conversation, like sit down, you go.
Yeah, that's what the very first time when he looks directly in the camera and he said they bought it, and you're like, wait a minute, whoa, hold on, this is different. And even the words on the screen where we talk about the fake stomach ache or whatever, licking the palms, it's just that fourth wall break was huge. Then you have the credit scenes, the post credit scenes, and again, Deadpool using the exact same format for the post-credit scene after the first Deadpool too. He was even wearing the same robe in the same household in the back.
I still, well, my son, I sing him twist and shout all the time, and I'll get his arms and I like twist. And I got that from this movie because I was not like a big Beatles fan growing up. As much as I did listen to older music, I wasn't like big into the Beatles. So I got twist and shout from this movie, and that's where the first time I heard it. And to this day, I still sing it to him all the time.
That's like Dankeschön. I thought that was a woman singing that song this whole entire time, but it's not. I was like, you got to be kidding me. That sounds exactly like, like a woman's voice right there. I guess it was a young Wayne Newton that was singing that before puberty, but I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. But it's got a whole bunch of different tropes in it, like the whole entire Rooney in the house scene. If that's not the precursor to Home Alone, trying to survive the house and all the stuff that the house gets you. I mean, that's again John Hughes film, one influence in the other. It's right there. And I think you said it also, Caleb, before we got on there. But the car accident that Jennifer Grey was in after this and after Dirty Dancing, which she ended up having her nose redone, and like everybody really kind of like. She was the it girl. Then everybody was out because she had that nose job done, and it's a shame because, well, the background characters in this movie, like Grace and like Jeannie and Charlie Sheen's character, I mean, they were great.
We were watching it. My wife was sitting there on her phone like usual, and I was like, man, I hate that she stopped doing movies a lot because she was really pretty about Jennifer Grey, and she was like, who? And I was like, Jennifer Grey, and she's like, I don't look like her. It's every time if I say that a girl is attractive, she's like, I don't look like her. Well, anyways, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a 1986 American teen comedy film written, co-produced, and directed by John Hughes. The film stars Matthew Broderick, Mia Sara, and Alan Ruck, with supporting roles from Jennifer Grey, Jeffrey Jones, Cindy Pickett, Eddie McClurg, Lyman Ward, and Charlie Sheen, who I forgot was in this movie. 100%.
Short
time. Looks like he walked straight out of Major League.
Forgot. This was not even at the same time.
It was 3 years before.
I completely forgot he was in this movie.
And he was throwing 99 when he came in here, too. I mean, oh, man. Just a little bit. Drugs? Well, no, I'm clean. No. Are you in for drugs? He said, what are you in for? Drugs. I mean, God, we'll get into that later. But that was, God, he was perfect for that.
It tells the story of a charismatic high school slacker, Ferris, who skips school with his best friend Cameron and his girlfriend Sloan for a day in Chicago, regularly breaking the fourth wall to explain his techniques and inner thoughts. The movie was released June 11th, 1986. It grossed $70.7 million on a budget of just $5 million. I do not have the Rotten Tomatoes. Do you have that, Ernie?
Rotten Tomatoes is 90. Oh, 83. Wow. That's 83, and the popcorn meter from fans is 92.
Mm-hmm.
Ernie's like...
I assumed it was 90-something.
Ernie was like, I'm pretty sure it's 97. 83?
Hey, you want me to tell you for another loop? The IMDb rating is 7.8 out of 10.
People are idiots. Again,
now you know how I feel on some of these movies we do.
No, well, I mean, I'm sorry. Major League was not. It's not in the National Film Registry of Library of Congress. Like,
I wasn't talking about Major League. I was talking about Scream and your 7.12 rating that you get. But you know what? While we're on the topic of Major League, that is a beloved movie, and I think you'll find that most people rate that a lot higher than you two rate it. Let's just get that. Let's get that straight, okay? So I'm tired of taking slack.
We're going to IMDb this real quick.
I'm tired of taking slack.
Well, first of all, if we're going to go by Rotten Tomatoes, finish your rant.
Well,
before I can use facts.
Y'all act like it's a 4.5 movie that I gave a 9 to, and it's like got an 80-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I may have
7.2.
Okay, so 1% lower than your precious Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
And Scream was 81. So again, Superior movie. Thank you. That's and facts don't lie. So there we go.
By
Let's
1%.
get back to the good movie.
1%.
If you bet
Don't act like you don't like
if you
Major
bet
League,
290,
Ernie.
if you bet 299, you're not betting 300. It's 1%. Actually,
pretty
it's
sure
more
you're
than 1%.
pretty sure you're still getting it. You're still going to be an all-star though. Anyway, I'm just.
Man,
Oh, man.
what movie will we not pull that scab on every single time?
I don't.
Because you
I
get
don't- I
ill
don't-
every single time.
Because I don't
No
understand.
blasphemy about Major League or Scream.
I don't understand the Major League like it's some trash movie. Like it's most people
What's
like that
trash?
movie.
Did we say we didn't like it?
No, but
We said it's popcorn. We said it's what, popcorn worthy or
What did I
cult
give
worthy
that?
or something.
no.
I don't know.
Dakota said it was cold. I don't know.
All right,
I gave it a
you're
7. It
taking
is
my time off
a
talking
cult
about Ferris
classic.
Bueller, talking about your junk. Let's go.
I'm
Ferris
not listening.
Bueller's Day Off.
I'm not listening.
Bite
to
the
you.
big one, Junior. Let's go.
On a warm and sunny spring day in Chicago's suburb, high school senior Ferris Bueller fakes illness to stay home from school. His parents, Katie and Tom, believe he is ill, though his sister Jeannie does not. After learning Ferris is absent from school for the ninth time that semester, the school's dean, Edward Rooney, becomes determined to expose Ferris's chronic truancy. Ferris has changed his attendance records by hacking into the school's computer system, making it appear as if he attends school regularly. I'm laughing already, just like thinking back, like Rooney.
I think my question for you is did you ever have a student that you were like, I'm gonna get him, I'm gonna prove him wrong one time?
No, I tried not to let anybody like have that much control over me. Again, that to me, with a school that's going to be that size, and you're pinpointing one kid that, again, if the worst thing he's doing is missing 9 days of school, I guarantee you have Charlie Sheen in the bathroom that's selling dope or something like that. That's probably a bigger headache than Ferris is.
Well,
But,
I think
that's
you said it, but you said like missing school back then was a much bigger deal than I feel like it is now. I feel like you said that
Oh yeah.
when we did Scream because
Yeah.
I mentioned the fact that the dad could have just taken her out of school, which for the anniversary, and not to go into another movie, but I mean, so that's but still, 9 days for him to do the things he does in this movie to catch a guy that's missed 9 days of school is.
Yeah, I feel like it's much more lax nowadays, especially like you're talking to kids in the youth group, and they're like, I'm gonna stay at my friend's house tonight. We don't have school tomorrow, and it seems like it honestly seems they've been in school for what, 2 months now or something, and it doesn't seem like they've been to a full week of school yet.
Well, COVID, not to get into it off the topic, COVID changed everything with that.
Yeah, 100%
yes,
did.
seeing Rooney's face when the numbers was going down from 9 to 2.
Grace.
That's it. As she first picks the pencils out of her hair and then is sniffing the whiteout. Sniffing, she was just sniffing Edie McClurg as Grace. Holy cow. Everything she did was funny, but that was perfect. Yeah, he's just looking at the screen. I mean, he's flicking that bug off his desk, and he's just talking to her. He's leading you down the primrose path, Mrs. Bueller, and then he looks 9 times. I got it right here in front of me. And then, ding, ding, ding. I was thinking, okay, Ferris is going to go like the 6. He goes all the way to the 2 or 3 or something like that. I'm like, oh man, that's crazy. But then he just goes nuts. And again, the interaction between Rooney and Grace is hilarious too.
Did y'all ever look? We're not everybody fakes sick to get out of school at least once or a few times in their life. Did y'all ever go through this extreme? I never went to this extreme to fake it though. I mean, it's like, I'm not feeling. Which I mean, granted, I didn't probably do it as often as Ferris Bueller does, but I was just like, yeah, I'm not feeling well.
Yeah, see, if I tried that, my mother would 100%. Okay, well, your grandmother can come take you to the doctor. Like,
it didn't happen in the Ferguson household either. Like, my sister and I were at school constantly. Now, my brother, he would be on the way to school, but just not make it there sometimes. Again, now he drove also like 25 to 30 minutes from our house to school too. But yeah, he would, casually not make it here or there. But nobody called home about it though. It was a big deal, but nobody called.
It was such a nice day out, Ernie. You can't expect him to drive 30 minutes to school. There's other places to drive 30 minutes to on such a nice day.
I mean, how can you possibly handle school on a day like today? I mean, like this. Yeah,
And to go in, I mean, you talk about your quotes, how you had so many. I mean,
Oh,
this movie is so quotable.
Mhm.
Even we get it in the opening scene where he's calling out the names and he goes Bueller. I mean,
Bueller.
how that is
Yeah.
so it's and like that monotone. We're watching a documentary in school so everybody can sleep. Type thing. That voice and but you just remember that you remember Bueller. Also, how many A's are in that classroom? Have you ever
oh
had
my
that?
goodness, they're forever.
He was going through like
Well, I mean, if it's a 1,500 person, school, you'd assume that they're pretty big classrooms, or they just
I,
take the classrooms and split
I,
them
w-
up by last names.
I went to a fairly large school. I don't remember that many A's in one
Yeah, I'm about to
class.
say I graduated with 315 kids, and I don't remember that many in a class. But but then you get like the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She comes up with, I mean, Christy Swanson has the quote, which is again so high school. My best friend's sister's boyfriend's brother's girlfriend heard from the guy who knows this kid who's going with the girl who saw Ferris pass out
Mhm.
31 flavors last night, and then she says, "I guess it's pretty serious." I mean, that just, I mean, just the way she presented it, I'm like, I have seen this girl in my class, and I've seen her talk like this
Mhm.
over and over and over again.
Save Ferris. Save. But
And that's,
we
oh
can't we
gosh,
can't we can't we can't go though. Skip it because you mentioned it with the fourth wall, but the opening
yeah,
monologue with every just him
Yeah.
talking. I mean, you are looking at something that was definitely a trendsetter.
mhm,
We don't get a lot of fourth wall breaks in movies, and because
Mm.
it's one of those things where if you do it, you got to do it right. And Matthew
yes,
Broderick and John Hughes
Mhm.
with this movie, they do it right.
yeah. That's just the whole entire way that he is narrating this film, because a lot of times I think fourth wall breaking is kind of a lazy thing to do, but
Mhm.
they really did a good job of making it part of I mean, you're along the journey with Ferris,
Yeah.
which goes back to, I'm sure we might talk about this later, and I'm sure y'all have heard about this, about whether this is all in Cameron's head or not. Or, I mean, is this a just Cameron figment of his imagination, which leads to Ferris being able to talk to the camera, which leads to, them doing all this stuff in one day, which is physically not possible, But again, the way Hughes and Broderick, I mean, Broderick nailed this. I mean, he nailed Ferris. He nailed the talking to the screen. He nailed the facial expressions too. It was he did. I mean, I would have bought all the stock in Matthew Broderick
And
from this movie.
talk about killing it with your roles because this was like very not long after War Games, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think there was, I think War Games, I want to say was like 83 maybe. But then he also had, I think, Biloxi Blues, which Alan Ruck with Cameron, they were in. So again, there was already this friendship between Alan Ruck and Matthew Broderick,
Mhm.
which played into, you saw that in this movie too, because of how well they
Mhm.
did together too. So yeah, but yeah, and that's one of those interesting things that Matthew Broderick really, you know, he really ends up turning into Cameron later in his acting life. Just the
Absolutely.
nerd and all that kind of stuff, and he doesn't follow through. Like they said, he turned down Point Break. So can you imagine him being a former quarterback, you know, as Keanu Reeves? But yeah, he turned that down.
We
So
do so many movies where we talk about what could have been, and out of all of them, Matthew Broderick to Keanu Reeves,
that
That's
is
a
a
pretty
huge
big
jump.
jump.
it doesn't quite fit. Well, Ferris persuades his hypochondriac best friend Cameron Fry to help excuse Ferris's girlfriend Sloane Peterson from school by claiming that her grandmother has died. Cameron calls the school, pretending to be Sloane's father. Knowing Sloane is dating Ferris, Rooney is suspicious. Ferris also calls the school during Cameron's phone call to confirm his absence, thereby fooling Rooney. To complete the ruse, that Sloane's father is picking her up from school. Ferris borrows the prized possession of Cameron's father, a 1961 Ferrari 250 GT California Spider. Fearing his father's wrath, Cameron is dismayed when Ferris takes the car on a day trip into Chicago. Ferris promises they will return the car as it was, including preserving the original odometer mileage by driving back.
Yeah, drive in reverse. Was that a let me ask, was that a thing?
I
Is that
I
a
don't
myth?
remember. I don't. Yeah, I think it's a myth. I mean, but
I don't
what?
think it was actually a
Because,
thing. Yeah.
I mean, granted, look, like you said, I mean, this is definitely Ferris is the kind of friend that could convince Cameron to do anything. But
Yes,
he
because he does.
he very easily went along with like, oh, we'll just take the miles off. How are we gonna do that? We'll drive backwards, and like that was it. Like, okay, let's go.
But golly, see, that's the problem with this movie is that we skipped the shower scene where he's
Mm-hmm.
singing in the shower. He has the mohawk on. He
Mm-hmm.
uses the quote from John Lennon. He starts singing
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Dankeschön, which is not the first time it's been going on. About he has a test over European socialism. He's European, doesn't want to be, won't ever be European. But just that whole entire the buildup of how grand Ferris is
Mm-hmm.
to when he calls Cameron, who just all you see of Cameron is that hand coming out of the bed and hitting the speakerphone. And I'm dying. You're not dying. You just can't think of anything good to do. I mean, it's just. And then he hangs up. And my other quote that I was going to go was when he says, "When Cameron was in Egypt's land, let my Cameron go." I mean, they couldn't do a better job of showing the polar opposites of the
Mm-hmm.
anxiety hypochondriac of Cameron to the I really don't care about anything Ferris. And
Mm-hmm.
man, that was such a good job there.
and we get the great, which we talked about it before, but the great car scene, probably my favorite part in the whole movie, just him sitting in the car. I'll go.
Yep.
And then he gets out, and then he walks off, and then you see him coming back in the background, and he's like jumping and
jumping up and down, just
and that I really think that scene right there kind of shows how close or how well they knew each other, or how well that Ferris could manipulate Cameron.
Mhm.
When he's just sitting there before, and now he's sitting in the car debating about whether he should go or not. And then it cuts to that immediately.
And
The
that's
comedic timing is great.
yes. And what I like too is that they intersperse in all these different clips, like why is Ferris Bueller dancing to the I Dream of Jeannie soundtrack? He just snapping his fingers and then it cuts to something else.
he's
I mean,
playing he's playing the
random
saxophone.
thing.
Playing the saxophone. He's like, I've never had a lesson.
It's a clarinet. It's a
Oh,
clarinet.
my bad. I'm not.
I'm gonna save you this one, Suggs.
Okay, Mr. What was it? Harrison Ford played Luke Skywalker.
Hey, look, buddy, I had never seen it before. Okay, let me ask you a question about this car, though.
Oof.
A pretty car, great car,
Yeah.
great choice. It's the Ferrari. Great choice. If there were less than 100 made, why is this guy having to restore it?
That's
Why is he leaving it in a glass garage?
No, I get leaving it in.
Then why are the keys readily available?
Yeah, there was a lot of questions about this car.
For the son you don't trust, who wipes it down with a baby's diaper, checks the odometer. Yeah, it sounds like it's the father's fault. No, I don't have to worry about this because I don't have a Ferrari 250 GT California Spider to let somebody be able to use.
I don't know. I guess somebody crashed it. Maybe I don't know. Because that's possible. You see the people, the crap. What do you call it? The valet later taking it for a joyride. It's definitely possible that someone could have crashed it
with Star Wars music whenever they're driving that thing. Too. God, that's great too. Here's a question: do y'all know what call waiting is? Did y'all know what Ferris was doing whenever he was talking to Cameron and then talking to his dad?
Yes.
That is.
Hold on.
Okay, so
by putting somebody on hold.
Kind of. Whenever you had landline, somebody called you. You hold. You press the button that usually hangs up. You just click it, and it clicks over and answers to whoever you're talking to. While at the same time, the other person's on the line.
Yeah.
And so if you wanted to go back, you click it again to go back over. Which that's a different level of anxiety and stress, especially if you're saying something to one person that you don't want the other person to hit, and you're here and you don't know which one you're talking to whenever you click it. I was like, I wonder if y'all even know about that. Because, again, it's old.
Leads us to one of the other best parts of this movie where we get them getting Sloan out of school. So it starts off. The nurse comes in the room, and before she's even saying anything, Sloane's putting on her jacket, and then she's like, "Please come to the hallway." She's like, "Me? Like what? Like, me?"
Yeah, she saw the nurse come in. Yeah, she was like, "Oh, wake up. Okay, jacket on. Yeah. Oh, I'm so surprised." And the girl behind her's laughing because she knows what's happening too.
And then the whole phone call with him, he's like, "This is Ferris," and like, "I'm gonna get him." And then the nurse is in on it, and they're like, "Yeah, you get him." And then Ferris calls. I mean, granted, he was right the whole time, but just thinking about this from like a principal's standpoint, which you're an assistant principal already, so like even if you thought that you
I
were
would
talking,
never say the stuff.
the stuff he was saying.
That's just roll her old bones up here. But
I need to see a body.
I need to see a body. Produce a corpse. But also like right before that, this goes back to Grace's little lines or whatever. And when he asked to get Mr. Peterson's daytime number, and she said it's Mr. Peterson, and he answers it, and she says, "You still want his daytime number?" And he just looks at her like, you moron, But and then whenever they're trying to find out where Sloane was, and she gets back on the phone, just I'm just trying to be him. I mean, it's just the Cameron dancing while he had him on the line because he had him on there, and that goes back to the friendship also. Whenever Ferris slaps the phone out of his hands, "I'm sorry I slapped you. I'm sorry I slapped you. But you did screw up."
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that's A1 manipulation right there.
While he's wearing a suit that you don't see him like. Oh, he goes. Yeah. He wears the suit to go pick up Sloane, and then he just magically doesn't have the suit anymore.
When he picks up Sloane, and
you have a kiss for Daddy?
Yeah. And just sitting here, and then the principal's just like, what a weird family dynamic,
That's how they do things in that family.
Rooney's going down the hallway. He's run. Then he gets to a window and slows down. Then he run. Gets to the window, slow. That's again. And then, just the disdain that Sloane has whenever between grief and nothing, I'll choose grief or whatever. And she just kind of looks up and like, yeah, like just the whole entire thing, which we can go into Mia Sarah later, but man.
Yeah. Wait, if you mentioned earlier where we didn't talk about Ferris in the shower or talk about some quotes or something, if we let you dissect every part of this movie, we would be on this podcast for 6 hours. Ferris, Cameron, and Sloane leave the car with 2 parking attendants who promptly take it on a long joyride. The trio eat at lunch at an upscale restaurant, visit the Art Institute of Chicago, go to a Chicago Cubs baseball game, and attend the Von Steuben Day Parade, where Ferris jumps on a float and lip syncs to, what's it called?
Dankeschön.
Dankeschön by Wayne Newton and Twist and Shout by the Beatles. Again, you mentioned it, Dakota. This is a lot of stuff for one day.
Yeah. No way this dude's doing this in an 8-hour day. No way.
The baseball game in the night is probably going to take 3 to 4 hours by itself if they stay for the whole thing.
So they go to the Sears Tower. Then they go to the stock exchange. Then it's the museum. Then Chez Louis. And then the Cubs game. Not to mention, you still have the parade, and you still got to drive into Chicago and drive out of Chicago. So,
which I've never been to Chicago, but I've heard the traffic is like they said what the Cubs and the White Sox stadium is like 9 miles apart, and it takes like an hour to drive between the two. So
that's
speaking of the baseball game, I'm tired of when we do movies having to watch the Braves lose. This is like the second movie where I've had to watch the Braves lose.
They weren't. The Bears were winning. It was 0-0.
Oh, gosh.
So, what's the score? 0-0. Who's winning? The Bears. And then he winds up and throws the piece of paper in the trash or whatever.
I know this has to do with the movie. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
I know this has to do with the movie. It's about the movie, but there was a guy on TikTok that I watched that he finds those those movies, like what's all playing on the TV or whatever, he finds the individual game that was played from. And I can't remember. I remember watching it, and I don't remember what the game's from. And I meant to look it up, but it was like some 1960s baseball game that they were watching. And it's really cool watching that dude like look at the screen and say, oh, well, it's a white jersey and it's these two teams, but that's not actually who it is.
I mean, that game that was on the TV, I don't actually know if the Braves were lost. It was just the Braves in the '80s, so I'm just assuming they lost.
Those powder blues were.
I was like, yeah. I'm sure they lost that game.
So again, you're okay. I don't know much about Chicago sports other than if you're wearing a Detroit Red Wings hockey jersey in Chicago at a Chicago Cubs game in the '80s. Cameron's probably not leaving Wrigley Field in one piece, especially a daytime game with daytime drinking going on. I thought that was kind of weird, but also goes back to Sloan 2.0 here. If you find a woman that is keeping score, keeping book at a baseball game, that's a keeper also there too. But we look at the day that he spent. The Sears Tower. What does Cameron say when they lean up against the window? Do y'all remember what he said?
He said, "There's my dad down there."
Yeah, I think I see my dad. So they're that many feet up, and he's looking down. I think I see my dad. And then they go to the stock exchange where Ferris says he wants to marry Sloan, and then again Cameron says, "I got two reasons for not to get married: my mom and my dad." So Cameron's really a kind of a having a bad day. But then they go. This is the time before the parade that they go to the museum. That scene should not work in this movie. Absolutely should not. If you put it on paper and somebody's reading this, it shouldn't work. I like the line that they had with the little kids, that they're all holding hands and going in line. But, to me, this is where it started to become a Cameron movie. Mm-hmm. Because when he's looking at the little girl's eyes and just kind of, to me, it's just one of those things where I don't know why I should be touched by this. I don't know why this pulls on emotional strings when I'm watching it, but it does. I didn't care what Sloan and Ferris were doing. It did whatever. But then you chime in that the Smith songs done by Dream Academy. Please, I can't remember what the title of that, but just the beauty of that song in the background. I was like, I still don't know. I still don't know why that works. But I love that scene.
And then you also, I mean, this is where you start to see it's not just a comedy movie where these guys are out. And if they did that, it would probably have been fine. But you get this, the talk between Cameron and Sloan about, the future and like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I don't know either. And you get different things where Ferris goes into it. He's like, me and Cameron are going to, split apart because we're going to go to, I mean, there's a lot of senior angst in this, the senior, and some stuff that people have to go through. I mean, that's, it's a life-changing. So it's nice to me that there's an added meaning to the movie. It's not just, hey, Ferris Bueller's day off, let's go do a bunch of crazy stuff. That being said,
it's not just hijinks all the time.
Yeah, the crazy stuff is a lot of fun, especially twist and shout. Like I mentioned earlier, I love the whole scene with the twist and shout. Especially, you get all the people in the crowd, the parade, and then the dad looking down. I don't, you would think he would see us. The dad is one of my favorite characters throughout the whole movie.
He's so oblivious,
completely oblivious he is the entire time.
What? So he doesn't recognize his boyfriend, his son's girlfriend.
His son's girl, yes.
Yeah, he doesn't recognize. But sunglasses. That's the key. Yep. If Superman taught us anything, glasses change people.
Yep.
But
it was brought before that at the restaurant too. They literally walk out of the restaurant and he's standing there, was it not?
What did he say? However many restaurants in Chicago?
Yeah, 1,500 restaurants in Decatur.
We can't forget though Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago.
The Sausage King of Chicago.
How in the world he sold that?
Because there's nobody, they couldn't Google it. He just looked at it. You touched me.
Oh, that was awesome. That was one of the things I was going to point out was they were like, he was like, hey, when Sloan got on the phone, he said, well, what does he look like? And she just describes what he's wearing. And I'm like, yeah, you're calling to talk to him. How do you know what he's wearing?
And then Mr. Peterson all of a sudden goes from her dad to now the police officer on the phone too. But
Yep.
he just the snooty maitre d' is perfect.
Mhm.
Also, what about it? What Ferris tell him? It's people like me that get to tolerate people like you or something like that.
Yep.
And he just goes, just snits and just it, it's good, but the Sausage King of Chicago. But here's the thing: is what happens when the real Abe Froman shows up? I mean, sure. I mean, she had a 12 o'clock appointment. He should have showed up, and they should have gone. Oh, but that was a good interaction there about how if he's going to get caught, he's not going to be caught by a guy like this type of thing.
Well,
all right, we're getting that.
Rooney prowls the Bueller home for Ferris, becoming victim to several pratfalls. Jeannie skips class and returns home to confront Ferris, but finds Rooney instead. Shocked by his appearance, she knocks him unconscious and calls the police. Rooney regains consciousness and leaves. The police arrest Jeannie, believing she prank called the police station. While detained, she meets another delinquent who advises her to worry less about Ferris' exploits and more about her own life. I mentioned it before the podcast. Rooney is lucky he's not in jail for
breaking it. That's all I can think about. Breaking and entering in this entire scene.
Well, how do you get 5 parking tickets in the amount of time that he was knocked out? Also, he had 5 parking tickets. But I mean, I guess we'll do our dude.
Speaking of which, Jeannie is so mad for Ferris skipping school and getting away with it that she skips school to go bust him.
I can't.
That didn't call about her though.
No, like when she calls the mom's business. Do you know where she is?
Do you know anything?
Do you know what time she'll be back? Do you know anything? Just her on the phone, and then her on the phone to the police. Speaking to English, and then puts the phone down, and then after and the scene where she kicks Rooney. Oh my goodness! I have to be careful not to drink anything because I will snort stuff out my nose when she goes up and kicks him about 3 times. Whack, whack, whack. And then just the facial expression she gives when she runs, and Rooney's eyes rolling backwards as he's about to fall down. I'm like, oh, whoever's in my house, I have my dad's gun, a scorching case of herpes.
Whoever's in my house, this is your principal. Like, I mean, I guess she doesn't recognize the principal.
I mean, not.
He was a little beat up from trying to get into the house and having trouble with the. I'm sorry, excuse me.
No dying on the podcast.
Did he give the dog chocolates? So did he try to? Is that what he gave?
No, he threw the potted plant on the dog's head.
So
that's how he knocked out. So again,
he's breaking into their house. He's trying, basically, doing harm to their animal, all because this kid skipped school.
And then, because again, remember, the flower guy drove up and and he gives him the bird twice to follow up. Then he says, "Come here, you little," and then he just drops it on he knocks the dog out, which is again is funny when she throws the wallet and it goes bloop, and then you hear the dog. And like, that's just perfect. But I can still see to this day when he's looking through the window and he slips and his foot falls in that, I guess, mud or whatever, and he pulls his shoe out and you hear it go, and then he just pours all the junk. I'm like going, oh, that's so disgusting.
Man, as somebody who works at utility work and who has fixed several water leaks like that, and it is the worst feeling ever.
Yeah, at least you're not wearing a suit and dress shoes, though.
You're right about that.
That gets split in the backside as he's washing his shoes off. You see he's got the split in the backside.
Yep.
He's got this dog bite on his leg. He's got bloody nose. He's got the split lip. I mean, homeboy's hating life, and it's
meanwhile,
hilarious.
No one's in charge at the school because the principal's away on personal
graces.
Oh gosh. And then we get the Charlie. I love that they arrested Jeannie, like she would just make that up, and then we get the Charlie Sheen, just who Dakota mentioned it, nails the very short time he's in this movie.
They said he didn't sleep for 48 hours before this.
I could see it.
Just the whole entire thing. I mean, you You say the name Ferris Bueller and you lose a testicle, and he says, "Huh, you know him?" And she cracks her knuckles. Just
Wait, what'd you say, Dakota?
Oh, so sorry, my.
Oh, I thought he said my name. I thought.
No, I think I was
Uh,
having an internet connection issue. It was going out for a second, but it's back.
But yeah, just the whole interaction by Charlie Sheen. I mean, yeah,
Great.
He was
great scene.
That was a great drop for him being in there, and then her total tone of being just
serious,
mad at the
yeah.
world to being you can call me Shauna, and you go you call her Jeannie or whatever, and she's just laughing up and down. Man, that was a good drop right there, and again, great job by Jennifer Grey too. That was a good part too.
I mean, Jennifer Grey. I mean, that's what I was saying when I hated it that she had the accident because she kind of went away from acting. I mean, in the 80s around this time, this movie Dirty Dancing, Red Dawn, she was a great actress.
Oh, I forgot about Red Dawn too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the different type of movie than Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Dirty Dancing.
just a little.
But upon collecting the Ferrari and heading home, Ferris and Cameron discover that the car's mileage has significantly increased. Cameron becomes catatonic from shock, but wakes up after falling into a pool. At Cameron's house, Ferris jacks up the car and runs it in reverse to rewind the odometer. However, this attempt fails and Cameron destroys the car out of anger towards his domineering father. Ferris offers to take the blame, but Cameron decides to tell the truth and stand up to his father. Yeah, so significantly increased. How do you go from 126 miles to 3,000?
I thought it was 300.
I think it was 300.
I thought it was 300.
Oh, was it? I thought there was 4 digits.
It was point something.
There was the red number there, which was the tenths.
Yeah,
but but that goes back to just the guys that worked at the. What do you think I am? I'm a professional, man, or whatever. He asked, "Do you speak English?" And he stopped, looked at him, and said, "Well, what country do you think this is?" I mean, and immediately they're jumping into that sucker and taking off. That makes me horse laugh every time I see them launching up, and you just see the joy in those two guys' face, and they're coming down. It's just, oh man, that's great.
Even just them walking down the sidewalk and the car peeling out and headed the other way away from them, man. Oh man,
go!
Look, now I don't, like any son with a father, we argued plenty, but as overall, I mean, I had a great relationship with my dad. He definitely loved me, so I can't speak into having that type of relationship where I would want to do something to try to grab, or stand up to my father or grab his attention. But if I did, I don't know if destroying a limited edition Ferrari is.
Now, in fairness, I don't think he wasn't paying attention that the gas pedal was still going.
No, but he was still denting.
Because again, he was denting it, but again, it was refurbished or it was restored, so it wasn't like that wasn't like things again. But again, the best part though is when he lines up to kick it and he stops. Because he's tired of it. He's tired of fighting with his dad. He's just going to take it on the chin. Here we go. And then he just puts the foot on the top of on the hood, and then there it goes. And just the look, from Ferris and Sloan whenever he's walking over there, and especially Sloan's going, "Holy cow!" And Ferris looking at, dude, I think you just went psycho for a second.
Oh gosh.
Even wasn't it right before this though that they were all in the swimming pool?
Yeah,
didn't he just dive off in the pool? It's just like, what, I'm just gonna drown.
Yeah, he just looks down and he just falls over. You can see he just blows the bubbles out, and that's when Ferris gets him and he pulls him out. Cameron. And then he opens his eyes.
Ferris Bueller, you're my hero.
The funniest and most random part was Sloan being like, "Cameron, did you see me when I was changing into my swimsuit?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, what did that have to do with anything?
Inspiring the young man.
Oh gosh, poor Cameron. Well, after walking Sloan home, Ferris remembers his parents will be returning soon. He runs through the neighborhood, but is nearly hit by Jeannie's car as Jeannie and Katie are driving home. Katie fails to notice Ferris, though Jeannie does does. Ferris makes it home first, but Rennie confronts him before he can get back inside. Seeing the two through the window, Jeannie has a change of heart and allows Ferris to come inside, claiming that Ferris is at the hospital for his illness. She also shows Rooney his wallet that had fallen from his pocket in the kitchen earlier, tosses it into a nearby puddle, and shuts the back door loud enough to wake up the family's pet Rottweiler. As Rooney flees the house, Ferris rushes back to his bedroom to await his parents. They find him in bed and believe he has been at home all day. Yeah, so this
man.
again, I mean, a great ending to the movie. We get the whole, saying goodbye to Sloane, and he's gonna marry me someday. It was
And then the song by the English Beat starts up. And just the whole entire run. He runs by the guy, snatches the drink out of his hand. He drinks it. He's running through the house. He runs by the two girls in the bikinis. Then all of a sudden you see him. Hi, Ferris Bueller. He goes back right there. And, and then again, that goes back to the clueless dad, too. He's running alongside the dad. Which, again, the dad with the old lady driving in front of him, too. Where she was just waving.
What happened to the cop car that was following Jeannie as she was speeding?
Did she pull over?
They gave her a ticket.
Okay.
Yeah, the mom mentions that because now she's got a.
That's right.
She's going to buy.
That's right. The mom does
Ferris'
mention
car.
that.
Which who's older, Jeannie or Ferris?
Jeannie is right.
But Ferris is a senior. That's the Are they twins?
I guess maybe
because I thought
I didn't really.
I think it's probably twins because he's like, Jeannie got the car, I got a computer, or she said that.
You got hosed. Get the computer. Yes.
Yeah.
As much as they love Ferris, that Jeannie gets the car. It's
Jeannie
a nice car too.
Jeannie gets the car.
Yeah,
but
a Fiero, which is like brand new type of car that just came out then, so it's not like it's an old clunker, and yet they have this house, this beautiful house, and they can't afford Ferris a car. She's waiting for the Vermont people to close the deal.
She's going to get him one right as he graduates.
But she's explaining all this to the dad, like everything that happened. She ruined the Vermont deal, and she got a ticket. She got another ticket. You got this, and that's just like we should just shoot her.
Oh, we should just shoot her. Yes. The most random quote throughout the whole movie, and they don't mention it again. They're like, let's just go check on Ferris.
I was sitting there watching with Kamei. Kamei was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Did you not just hear that?"
Well, I think it's like anything. Any wife will tune out half the things her husband says, anyways. Especially, because we say dumb stuff all the time. So Terry will just like, "Okay, shut up." I won't even acknowledge some of the dumb stuff that I say because, I say it a lot. So, but and that's just the running scene, and the car. I mean, she's still squealing the tires. Jeannie is to get into the driveway, and she's she just
all that for her to have a change of heart, which is one of the best parts of the movie. Her having that change of heart, where you see it because Rooney has him. Even though he's broken however many crimes to get him, he has him. And he sees it on his face, and Ferris sees it on his face. He's finally caught. He's not getting away with this one. And then Jeannie opens the door. There you are. Why would you think you could walk back from the hospital?
And then you see Ferris's shoulders just slump, and he goes, "Huh." Like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Oh. And then, but again, running upstairs to get in bed, and the perfect throw to get on to turn the snooze.
And
the snoring off.
Luckily, all the running helps out because he's still sweaty and hot.
Yeah. You have to ask how many times he's run this path though back to the house. If he knows that this trampoline's here with this gym set to be able to jump over the fence to get into his backyard, like that's not just something you could just plan. Like he had to have done this several times.
Okay, so I lived in a neighborhood. I wouldn't say it's like this, but neighborhood where there weren't fences all the time. You knew which houses had fences, and you knew which houses didn't have fences. So that way, because again, when the lights came on, when street lights came on, you better be at home. So you knew which way, what you could cut through and stuff like that. So I living when I did, I can truly see. I know where I'm at, and I know the fastest way to get through places now. Jumping off a trampoline, maybe not. But again, you knew which yards you could cut through. You knew which neighbors you had to watch out. Now, I'm not going to run through somebody's house and tell them that dinner's ready. It smells good either. But
Yep.
Well, in a scene that plays during the credits, a humiliated, disheveled, and injured Rooney reluctantly accepts a ride on a school bus filled with students who act I can't.
Derisively.
Who act bad towards him. He sits next to a girl who offers him a gummy bear from her pocket, which he tosses away in disgust. Rooney glances at another student's notebook, which has "Save Ferris" written on the cover, before glaring at the camera as the school bus drives off. In a post-credit scene, Ferris looks into the camera and says to the audience, "You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go." And that's the end of that. The Save Ferris thing, we didn't talk about, how it's throughout the movie. It's on the water tower and
the police said, we're pulling for your son, Mr. Bueller. And she was just like,
what?
Thanks.
Oh,
which goes to how oblivious they are, because how did they not see all the Save Ferris signs?
Like on Wrigley Field on the Wrigley Field banner or whatever out the front, it said Save Ferris also.
We're talking about the dad who was driving next to his son and didn't notice him. This dude is about as oblivious as it gets.
I will say, while driving though, sometimes I'm not paying attention to who's in the car beside me.
Yeah, but he's not in a car. He's running. He's out.
That one. He is no grace for that one. But when he's in the taxi, I'll give him grace in the taxi. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. But yeah,
he's making lewd gestures and licking the window. That's what Slug says about the dad.
Well, Ernie, this is your movie. We're done. And we somehow got done in an hour. My goodness.
I'm pretty surprised about that. Yeah.
Well, I think
I was reined in. That may sound controversial, but I was reined in a little.
Reined in. Ernie didn't get enough time to talk.
No. Again, here's the other beauty about this movie. What, hour 40 minutes? Hour 39 minutes?
Yeah, it's not an
hour 42.
That's unheard of nowadays, to have a movie that's less than 2 hours.
I love
less than 2 hours. If a movie is less than 3 hours these days, we're doing good.
We're looking at you, Kevin Costner, and Horizon.
Yeah, look at Leonardo DiCaprio.
What?
I looked at his. I know this is way off topic. I looked at his film score the other day. He has been in only 2 movies that have been less than 2.5 hours.
That is too much, Leo.
My wife would
disagree. I can see why Rose let him drop in
Leonardo DiCaprio, as my dad used to say.
So there's a phone call. There's a phone call from my wife.
Oh, he's in good. I think this was bad. This was back in the day. He's had more really good movies that I've liked here in the past 10 years or so. Like The Wolf of Wall Street. It's a great movie. But anyways, all right. So we are done. Somehow got done in an hour. What's next? Rankings?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
We will let the Honorable Ernie Ferguson go first.
I came into this, I know what I wanted to score it, but I'm not going to, because I don't know if I'll ever get anything at 10. But I was really worried watching it, because it's been a while since I've watched the whole entire thing, and I was worried that it wouldn't hold up. But golly, it's funny at every turn. Mm-hmm. And again, it would probably be lower if we didn't have the museum scene with Cameron, which I think it gave the movie some soul to it. So I'm going to go with a 9 for Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Dakota.
Which I bet is lower than what you thought I was going to give it.
Yeah, it is. That kind of surprises me. Now I'm looking at my rankings like, oh. But Dakota.
I really enjoyed this movie. Like I said, this is only the second time I've ever sat down and watched it all the way through. And I've seen clips of it and stuff like that. But I think really looking at just everything that surrounds us, everything that goes on in the movie. The comedic timing of everything, the music behind it. Hughes does a great job in this. When it is writing in this movie, and I mean, like, the character development, the breaking the fourth wall. When you look at a culmination of everything, they really do a great job, inside of the movie. Outside of the movie, the influence that this movie has had on on pop culture in general, on other movies, on the breaking the fourth wall things and the other callbacks to this movie. I think it has had a really large impact. And to me, that gives it pretty high. This is a great movie that you could sit down, watch at any time. You can pick it up at any moment, really know just kind of where you're at and go on. I think I'm going to give it an 8.5. I really think it is just a good popcorn worthy movie that you can sit down and watch at any time.
Oh, now it's time for me to rip into this one, right, Fergie? Right, Fergie?
You can do whatever you want. You can give it a 1. It doesn't bother me any.
No, it's like I told you. I mean, I knew this was a good movie before I watched it, but when I watched it again, I forgot just how good a movie it is. And we're gonna get. I know you really like John Hughes, and we're gonna get into some John Hughes movies later down the road that we're probably going to have a difference of opinion on. I'm not going to mention what those are, but I'm sure that will come. That being said, this is one that we do not have a difference of opinion on because I'm going to give it the exact same score you did with a 9.
That really kind of surprises me. I thought both of y'all would rate it high. I didn't think that y'all would both rate it as high as y'all did.
Well, I think before I watched it, I was like, my initial, just going off the memory of it, I was like 8.5, and then I watched it, and I was like, man, this is really good, so I bumped it up to a 9. But you gave it a 9, I was like, man, if he's giving it a 9, I don't, but
I know I've given 925, 925. I've given a lot of them, but I don't. I'm not going to give it a 10 because it's not a perfect movie, and I don't know if I'll ever give anything a 10 or even a 9.75. I don't even know if I'll give anything a 9.5. But
I'm pretty sure you already have given something 9.5.
I have not.
Yeah,
no. 9.25 is the highest I've given.
I think you gave 9.5 to Back to the Future, and I gave a 9.5 to Jurassic Park.
Don't worry, I'll pop that 10 cherry soon enough.
Wow.
No, I really did like.
It's a family show here.
I really think this movie is a blockbuster, as much as people talk about it.
Oh yeah, I should probably do that part. Yeah, we have our grouping, so we have the Blockbuster, which is the highest. That's 9 to 10. Man, why do I forget the
popcorn is 8?
Is 8 to 9. Cult Classic is 6.5 to 8.
Yeah.
Matinee only is 5 to 6.5, and anything below 5 is a straight to video. Yeah, I can't remember these, even though I came up with them. So a 9, let's see, a 9, and 8.5. I think that brings it out to an 8.8.
8.83, and that puts Ferris Bueller's Day Off at number 3 between Back to the Future and Dead Poets Society.
Yeah, definitely a better movie than Dead Poets Society. Even I like Dead Poets Society, but I think this is a better movie. I would much rather watch this. But granted, though, that Dead Poets Society is really sad.
That's good.
That's
makes me tear up every time. So
that's the thing we're going to get to is they're completely different movies.
Yep.
And, well, I mean, we can have that debate about different stuff like that, but it's very interesting. I wasn't sure that this comedy would be that high because I wasn't sure about the 80s type of humor and 80s type of movie being ranked that high. Because, again, I don't know how y'all feel about stuff being, again, younger than me than y'all are. And that's one of those things, as I say probably every week, that's always interesting to see y'all's perspective on things being younger than me and seeing how it is. And that's why it made me feel good. It makes me feel good when I put movies in that y'all are close to what I think.
Well, we haven't really been far off anything. I mean, we're usually mostly pretty close. I think the biggest gap was my 9.25 for Screen with your 7 point something. I can't remember what it was.
7.75.
Yes, but we all know Ernie's distaste for horror movies, which leads us.
So go ahead.
Which leads us into next week. we will have a special Halloween episode where we will be doing Halloween. It is my pick, technically, according to Ernie. I'm not going to get into that again, but
Yet you bring it up again.
you know, it keeps me up at night. It gives me nightmares.
I can tell.
Not the movie, the conversation.
The movie that we're doing Halloween definitely kept me up at night when I was a kid because my dad, being the big Halloween fanatic that he is, I'm pretty sure he tried to show this to me when I was like
I feel like we all had
3
a
years
member
old.
of our family like that. I don't think my mom was as big of a fan as your dad is, but my mom was definitely a pretty big fan and like had the Halloween lunch boxes, the little Michael Myers. This is for next week.
I've already been preparing because I know if like we're talking about this movie and I forget to bring like one anecdote or something, my dad is gonna rip me. So I've been like, I was watching the Netflix the Netflix episode today of the movies that made us, or so I think that's what it's called. It's pretty cool. It goes through different movies and how they're made and stuff. And I was watching the one on Halloween today. I was actually watching it thinking I got to be ready for tonight, and then I realized, oh wait, that's not tonight.
That's next week.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I hear from your dad at school.
I can't believe y'all left this out. I can't believe y'all left.
Oh
that
yeah,
out.
he does. He does that to me all the time, dude. I'm like, Dad, you don't understand. Like when you're, it's hard to remember everything. Even if you
take notes. One rabbit trail is going to make me forget something completely other, and we'll follow a rabbit trail in a heartbeat, which is, I think, part of the fun of doing this.
But yes, we're looking forward to it. Unfortunately, it means October's coming to an end.
Thank the Lord.
Ernie, just don't. You break my heart so much.
If there's a month that ties into pumpkin spice, it's not a good month.
No, look, we're not gonna associate the two together, okay? Because pumpkin spice is without a doubt the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted in my life.
Hey, let me tell you, this might be what is this? A hot
take?
Hot take here, yeah, hot take. Apple is the far superior fall flavor.
I don't think that's a hot take at all. I think that's 100% right. Pumpkin's nasty.
The only pumpkin spice I've ever had was a pumpkin spice latte or whatever from Starbucks. It was right when me and my wife first started dating. She was like, "Why don't you try this?" And I about puked in the parking lot.
So you paid an arm and a leg to puke. That's awesome.
I about puked. I didn't. But, I mean,
attaboy to man up. Good job.
All right. Anything to add? Yeah, I still can't believe we're getting done this early. We need to talk for 20 more minutes than we can hit our average. Ernie, quickly rank your John Hughes movies. No, I'm just kidding. We don't have an hour. We don't have an hour left.
You don't have enough time.
But guys, anything you want to add?
You're still here? It's over. Go home.
Go home. Go.